A very good evening to everybody. I am Kashish Piduri, your host for today's session. And firstly, I would like to thank you, everyone, for joining in today. I hope you find this session informative and insightful. So, to start with, I would like to tell you about MyWays. So, MyWays is an AI and career growth platform for the students. We aim to help them in being employable in their desired role. We provide them internship opportunities, training sessions, courses, and we also help them in tracking their growth. We also conduct weekly master classes for our student community, just like today. So every week, the student comes and they get knowledge on one particular topic. As like today, we are learning about a good CV and the power of networking and LinkedIn profile. So now I would like to introduce the mentor for the day, Miss Ritu Singh. She's a certified career coach, professional resume writer, and currently working on building career profiles of people looking for leadership roles. As a CV coach, she has successfully helped many mid-level, senior level, and C-suite professionals in aligning their career growth with targeted jobs. So in today's session, she'll be covering about how to write a good resume, the important sections of the resume. She'll also discuss about the length, format, presentation, language, and professional fonts to be used in writing the resume. And lastly, the power of networking and LinkedIn network. So without any further ado, let's get started with the session. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you so much, Kashish, and a very good evening to everyone out here. I hope I am audible. My first question to everyone. I am, right? Great. Okay. All right, cool. I've just understood. Okay, so thank you so much, Kashish, for this wonderful introduction. And just to add more to it, I am currently, I'll tell you about my, work experience. So I've worked with organizations like ABC Consultants, and I am presently working with an edtech company called Northwest Executive Education as a manager for their career services division. And I come with about 8+ years of experience, which has mostly been around, resume writing, creating profile of, all the mid-management from like freshers to like, people with 20+ years of experience. Have handled them all. If I'm not boasting, I can put it like that. So, I've got enough experience in resume writing, creating LinkedIn profiles, and, so today I'm here, and I'm sure after this session, you all will, walk away with some insights and, some benefit that you can avail out of this class, which will help you create, a better profile, probably, will help you in finding the targeted job that you are, looking for, or whatever your career aspirations are. So the first and the foremost step is to have a one-page document, if I can say it like that, which is a resume. And somebody was just asking me that, what's the difference between a resume and a CV? So I'll just quickly take up that question because, that is part of my presentation. So the difference between a CV and a resume would be, a CV is a curriculum vitae, which takes care of your professional, work experience, your qualification. And in addition to that, it also takes care of, extra curricular activities that you have done. Whereas a resume is focused towards your career accomplishments and your work experience and your education. A CV could run into pages, whereas a resume is a very crisp and a concise document, which is ideally kept under 2 pages. Yes, I am going to be sharing a PPT. So thank you for reminding me for that. So here it is. Just let me know if you all can view my screen. You all can, right? So that's about my introduction. I think we've already covered that. Let's just move on to the important components of a resume. So in the best interest of all, I think all of you all here would understand, how a resume looks like. But again, as I said, in the best interest of all, I'll quickly take you through, what is the format or the layout or the content or the customization, that we create in a resume. So one very important thing, your resume is a very concise document, is a summary of your total work experience and your academic qualification. So the format should be, I'll just start with the rule of the thumb maybe. So if you are a student who is, maybe in the final year of your graduation or post graduation, or if you're studying full time and you've done some internships in the past, so your format would be that, you bring your education qualification on top, and then it has to be followed by the work experience or the internships that you've done. So the first and the foremost section would be your name and contact details. And after that comes your education. If you are pursuing a full-time, if you're studying right now, then comes your work experience section, which is again followed by the other details. Like we'll discuss the additional information that, what all can we include in the resumes, right? So there are three formats when it comes to resume writing. One is a reverse chronological, second is a functional, and third is a combination. When I say reverse chronological, it is self-explanatory that, you start with your recent employment or with your recent education, and then you follow the reverse chronology, or you follow with the previous ones. So you start with the most recent one first. So I mean, I generally recommend, and that's the industry practice also, mostly it is reverse chronological. So functional is used wherein people are actually transitioning from one career to another, or if suppose there is a career gap, there is a sabbatical in between, and we wouldn't really want to have that the recruiter to focus on maybe the dates and all. So we talk about functional resumes, but in most of the case it is not recommended because it confuses the reader. And combination is again with functional, you can have some of the skill sets highlighted on top that you would want your recruiter to know, and then follow the reverse chronology and write your work experience section, within which you also take care of those skills. So uh, just having a section of technical skills and highlighting your technical skills, I would not recommend. The better way to do that would be that you pick up those relevant skills and you write a bullet point or a statement around each of these technical skills, that how have you used those skills to come up with the achievement or to narrate your story. We'll talk about that in detail. That was just about the formats that you all that's available. So reverse chronological is what we are going to be focusing on. Okay, so what all does it cover? It covers your contact details, experience, education. So experience in education again depends. If you're pursuing full-time education, that comes the second that comes on the second place, and the experience moves a little later. But then if you're working full-time, then your experience is highlighted on the top, which is followed by the education section. Then again, your other experiences, which is like internship, volunteer work, and then interests. So just to repeat, we all know that a resume is a marketing tool that describes your individual potential value to the organization. It is a venue for you to distinguish yourself from other candidates. It is a demonstration of your work quality and a sample of your written communication skills. So very, very important. When I say it is a sample of your written communication skills, so just, ensure that, there are no grammatical errors, there are no typos. When you're writing the name of the organization, just be very, very particular about the spellings that is used by the organizations. So these are the small little things that matter a lot when you're writing your resumes. So for preparing your resume, list as many points as you wish to under each job. And okay, so before I talk about this, I mean, there will be a lot that I will be talking, and please feel free to take screenshots and click pictures of whichever slide you feel you would want to revisit or you would want to refer to. So before I actually talk about what star statements are, so one thing that after this session I would really want all of you all to focus is, whenever you're writing anything about your career related to your work experience, remember about star statements. Star statement, the full form is already given on the slide. S is a situation, T is a task, A is an action, and R is a result. So whenever you are doing something, some work, wherever in your organizations, or maybe in your college, whatever responsibilities that you've handled, nobody is really interested in knowing that you've handled so many responsibilities. What people are interested in knowing is what values you've added, what impact have you been able to bring in. So when I talk about the impact that you've been able to bring in, let's just crack it in a way that you write a star statement, which is a situation. That means a task that was given to you. There was a situation out of which you created a task, then you converted that task into an action, and then which followed with some kind of result that you achieved at the end. So that is how your each of the career accomplishments should be written. Okay, and now the third thing here says label each of them under a competency skill set. Okay, so as I mentioned earlier that a lot of you would be technically very sound in few, one or the two things. I am a non-technical person, so I wouldn't know that, but to say maybe Java or any other thing, just maybe if you can type in the chat box, I'll be able to pick up and give you more examples. So if you have a technical skill, again, I am interested to know, if you have a technical skill, how have you utilized that skill to be able to bring some benefits, something that you've added to the table by utilizing that skill. What is the benefit? Why have you learned it? You have just learned it and you've written it on this CV that you know this or you know that. But then how have you utilized that skill is something to be looked upon by the prospect recruiters. So when I say label them under competency skill set, I mean that, as I said, that, you would not be having a separate section for technical skills. Wherever you're writing your achievements or the bullet points, you will try to include your work done around that technical skill or whichever skill that you're talking about. So now you have a large database of job activity, achievements, and competency skills. Okay, this is your master resume template. So today, through this medium, I would also like to suggest all of you all here that, whenever you are, I'm sure a lot of you would have a diary a lot of you are into the habit of diary writing. And I assume maybe 10% or 20% would be there. So it is something similar to diary writing, but not like an everyday routine that you have to write. But I would suggest that you have a master career repository or your resume repository. Create a Word document like that. When I say create a Word document like that, in that, I would want you to probably list everything that you've done that may be significant or may not be significant, because that's currently in your age, or maybe at the place you are, you may not feel that it is significant enough to write or not. But then I would suggest that you maintain a Word file or whatever, PowerPoint presentation or whichever document that you're comfortable with, or a diary for that matter, and start writing your achievements, your responsibilities, whatever you have achieved in your professional career. I'm not talking about in life in general, but in your professional environment. So to say that, I like, it's a very good document to actually maintain and update it on a quarter basis, if not on a monthly or a fortnight basis. So monthly, fortnight, I understand that you wouldn't really it's a tedious work to do. So maybe every quarter. So today, suppose if I am I've completed an internship, right? So it's the best time for me to actually write something, my entire experience. Maybe you can write it as a story or as a bullet point. Just write everything. What is it that you did, and what were the challenges you faced, and how did you overcome those challenges? What were the team sizes that you were involved in, and who were the leaderships, and how were you communicating to them? What is it that you suggested to the leadership? What is it that you suggested to your boss, which may or may not have got implemented? But then that shows that you can actually think, you can actually ideate and create things, right? So it's a very good document to actually maintain, and you should update that document every 3 months. When I say that every 3 months, of course, within those 3 months, you would have achieved something. You may have something in the pipeline. You may have been targeting to achieve something. So again, go back and write everything. So that way you create a very detailed and a master document. That document is going to help you create your resume. You would actually not be requiring a resume writer or somebody's help. In that case, you will have your database, your raw material ready with you. So whenever you're applying for a job, all that information that you have in the master repository may not be relevant, because what I'm saying that a resume is a very concise document. It has to be like aligned to your next target job. So that document will help you pick up the skills, pick up the bullet points, which are relevant for that next target role. So you may be applying for your like 2 or 3 or 4 jobs, and the job descriptions for all those 2, 3, 4, 5 jobs may differ. In some of the jobs you will have some skill set required, some you will have some other keyword appearing which is probably not in the previous one. So how do you take care of that? You take care of that by reading the job descriptions and then going back to your master document to see, what work have I done around, maybe if not the exact work, then what is it that I can convert it as a bullet point which talks about this particular key skill that my recruiter or the prospect employer is asking for. So the takeaway is that create a master document, go back to that document every quarter, and keep writing about your achievements, significant, non-significant, both. All right. Let's move on to the next one. Professional experience. So what you have done in the past is a good indicator of what you can do for a prospect employer. Use the job description of the targeted position to identify and highlight the skills. Again, not one document or one resume would serve your purpose everywhere. So have versions of your resume. You can't really have versions of your LinkedIn profile, but then you can have the various versions of your resumes. One targeted towards one type of job that you're targeting, maybe in HR, one targeted towards maybe operations, one targeted towards maybe, some techno-functional kind of role that you want to target. So not all these, everything that you've written in the master document and the master repository will not make sense to a prospect recruiter who's looking to hire somebody in the HR or operations for that matter. So you'll have to actually go back to that document, pick up the relevant points which align with that kind of role that you're targeting, and then probably create a bullet point and write your star statement. So star statement is something that will come in your resume. A master repository can have your story in lens. Okay. You show a positive progression in work assignments and level of responsibilities. How do you do that? Best way to do it is quantify information. That adds more credibility. It's more clearer that, okay, you did X assignment and this was the Y result that you delivered. So it becomes more credible, more easy for anybody to understand. Include projects that failed as long as you positively articulate your role in their recovery or any cost saving based on your decisions. So projects that failed also does not mean that you failed. That would actually tell your recruiter that you have the potential to maybe think out of the box. You have the potential to maybe take risks. So a lot of projects fail, but then it's not that people are out of work whose projects have failed, right? So it's a good thing to highlight only when you have learned something out of it, or you've been able to utilize the skills that you learned during that project into some other project or somewhere in your work experience that helped you grow. When deciding what you include in your resume, put the items through who cares. Very important. So a lot of times I tell people that I speak to, a lot of my clients who are like 20 plus or 30 plus years of experience also, they have like their resumes in pages, running into pages. They're like, I've done so much and I want to include everything, what I did in my second job, what I did in my third job. They were all very significant achievements. I had achieved so much. I had taken the organization from X to Y position. But if there, if it was done like 15 years ago, I mean, I really don't care, who would care that what you did 15 years ago? What matters is what you've done more recently. What values have you added to the table, maybe within the last 10 years? Do not go beyond that. In your case, I am assuming that, all of you are freshers and, just starting your career. So whenever you're writing any point, just run it through that test, which is who cares. If you're writing a very generic statement that, I create reports, I generate reports, I report to my managing director or to my vice president, and I take care of XYZ work. I mean, really nobody's interested in knowing that, because everybody in a professional environment is doing something or the other. That's not what your resume should be talking about. Maybe if you want to talk about your responsibilities, include them like 1 or 2 line to start with. When you write the name of the organization, just write maybe in 2 lines, what is it that you handle on a day-to-day basis. That is about it. Nobody is interested in knowing what do you do on a day-to-day basis. What people are interested in knowing from your resume is, the values that you've been able to bring in. So the who cares test is very important. Creating effective bullet statements. So focus on how and why. Do not just list job descriptions. I think I've repeated enough number of times. Quantify your results whenever possible. Use actual or percentage improvements to show results. I've included a few, bullet points for you to maybe understand what I'm trying to say. Suppose, I have this bullet point which says, led a team to develop end-to-end product strategy. And then the sentence is complete here. I mean, there's a full stop or not, but this is the sentence that I see in one of the resumes, led a team to develop end-to-end product strategy. I mean, I don't know if it makes sense to you. It does not make sense to me at all. Which team are we talking about? How many team members are we talking about? Which product is it? And whether you develop this product or you are working on this product for your internal organization, or you are working on this product for some external client. I mean, there is no information as such. It's just a random statement, led a team to develop end-to-end product strategy. So if in the next bullet point, I've tried to recreate this is like a your bullet point should look like. Designed a product strategy and built a team of 5 developers to create a real-time scalable solution to unearth account fraud, takeover fraud, identifying a potential loss worth $20 million and further reducing fraud by 38%. So this particular section is your result that we are talking about. So I have added credibility by saying that, okay, listen, I designed a product strategy, okay, and then I built a team of 5 developers. I included 5 members, or I identified 5 team members, and then we worked on something. We created a software, or we created a product which helped in generating Y result, okay, which identified the fraud and which could have been a loss of $20 million or X million dollar, and then further we reduce the fraud also by 38%. So this is how a statement should look like. So similarly, achieved a 96% reduction in agent servicing time and scaled up compliance ratio by 78%. So if I just end my bullet point here at 78%, okay, so it's a good, well written point that which talks about result, but then it doesn't talk about the strategy. It does not talk about the action that you took to achieve this result. So then you have to actually add by implementing or by doing X or Y work. So that is how your complete bullet statement, your achievement should look like. To read a few more, deployed machine learning methods to reduce monthly fraud rates by 9%. Okay, so machine learning methods, again, when you say that you're good at some skills, you are maybe a data scientist, or you are maybe you've learned artificial intelligence, but then how have you utilized those skills that you've learned? Here, I mean, in this way, I would want to see all your achievements, that what tools, what technical tools, what financial tools have you used, and which has resulted in generating some X benefit for the company. So that's how your bullet point should be. Just quickly, I want to understand, am I making sense to everyone here? Just quickly type a yes or a no. Cool. Thank you so much. Thank you. My voice is not that audible. I hope I'm audible now. There was some internet error. So again, when you are dealing with clients, if your organization has got external clients, it's a very good idea to talk about your clients as well. I mean, do not name them. This is like confidential information, and do not put real numbers also if it is not something which is out there on the social media. But then talk about the breadth and the depth of how big these clients are for the organization, how much value are they adding to the organization. If you are maybe dealing with one client or maybe 2 clients, which is like generating maybe, which is responsible for maybe 10% of the total revenue of the company that you're working for, then highlight that 10%. It's a big client, it's a Fortune 500 or 100 or 50 client that I deal with. My client is happy through the client satisfaction score, or through any other metric that your organization has. Okay, so that's about creating effective bullet statements, and that is about your work experience section. Now let's talk about other experiences and interests. But what do I mean by other experiences? Okay, so interest, everybody knows about your hobby, and which probably tells about your personality. So other experiences, list only couple of items here that would set you apart from other candidates. Do not list everything that you know is used by everyone, that is like MS Excel, MS Word. So we have to really assume that you know all of us know that. We all have done our education. We all have like you know graduated or pursuing our graduation or post graduation. So let's just assume that you know everybody knows MS Office. So please do not write that you know you're proficient in MS Excel, MS Word, or you know unless it is like a technique which is like you know up in the market and everybody's like asking for it. So these MS Excel, MS Word is not something that is to be highlighted. Do not list religious, political, or other controversial affiliations, as they may negatively impact your consideration. That's like, you know, well understood by everybody. There may be clash of interest. Maybe your recruiter is a you know ex-party follower and you believe in some other party. So let's just avoid getting into that kind of controversial situations. So that's not, resume is not the best place to talk about that. Always list language proficiencies and professional certifications if they are relevant. So when I say language proficiency, I do not mean English and Hindi, please. Okay, so and we all know that you know we can all communicate in Hindi and English. So English is also something that you know I wouldn't recommend that you all the long language that you know. I mean, it's again, we all have done our education in English or in Hindi medium. So let's just assume again that you know we all know Hindi and English. If you deserve some place in your resume, not otherwise. List a few hobbies or interests, as it shows that you have a balanced life outside of your work and gives the interviewer a point of discussion to build rapport. Okay, so when I say list a few hobbies or interests, I do not mean that you know you write singing, uh, dancing, or traveling, watching TV, or anything of that sort. If you want to talk about your hobbies or interests, I mean, there's a very fine difference between you know having putting too much on your resume and aligning it with your next target role. So if you want to actually say that you love watching cricket, again, in India, I think you know if we talk about male ratio, I think 90% of people like watching cricket. So there is nothing extraordinary that needs a place in your resume to highlight that you like watching cricket. So if you have played cricket, that too, if you've played at a state level or maybe, you know, at an interstate level, yeah, that's what I mean. So then probably, you know, park that information in the resume. Otherwise, do not talk about it. Same goes for any other sport. If you enjoy hiking, then talk about, you know, your hiking, how much have you traveled? And if you just write reading books, then probably write the genre of books that you like to read. Maybe that could be a conversation starter with your prospect employer, that you know maybe your interests align, that okay, this person has read this, I mean that's a wonderful book. So you know some takeaway, some conversation starter like that. So if you are writing your hobbies, be a little more specific in writing what is it that you like. Just do not write as I said, simple things like singing. Or singing, again, I'm not saying that you know if singing like singing, how much time have you given to singing, how much have you learned, like you know if you've participated, if you've completed in a certification course in anything, then again it's a good thing to highlight. Otherwise, no. Perfection. So even the tiniest of errors in spelling, grammar, formatting, or printing are enough to put your resume on a rejection file. There is nothing that I have to explain here. I mean, it's all self-explanatory. Perfection is a virtue. Resumes represent your quality of work and attention to detail as much as they convey your work experience and skills. You are actually presenting yourself, to the prospect recruiter without that person having to speak to you. So, you know, that's your first impression. You have to really sell yourself well. And for that, you please ensure that you do not make any grammatical mistakes or you do not do any typos. So again, the best way to do that is to maybe, circulate your resumes in your friend circle and just ask them to probably do a simple critique on the document or review it once to see if everything is in place. Just ensure all the dates that you've written are not misaligned. They're not, clashing with your graduation or your post graduation, or for your work experience or anything for that matter. So that is about your spellings mistakes and all that. Now getting in touch, now very important, how you get in touch with people also makes an impression. So I would suggest that if you have your resume ready, right, okay, if you are all charged up to apply in various organizations that you're going to be targeting, so do not send mass emails to all search consultants you can find. Always spend that extra time. It is about that extra time, and that minute details is what helps you stand out, helps you create a masterpiece. Okay, so resume, everybody, maybe if like 100 people from your college are passing out from your batch, 100 people will have the similar kind of work that they would have done, or similar kind of education that they would have done. But then how does it differentiate you? So you have to tell your story in the resume. Similarly, how you approach to people also should be personalized. Do not send mass mails. That means that when you reach out to consultants or you reach out to prospect employers, just do not have a cover letter that says dear so and so, to whomsoever it may concern, or statements like I mean, very recently, I was just, I received a cover letter from a person. I just rejected that person outrightly, because the person did not even bother to, if he is writing me an email, the person knows my name. He did not even bother to address me correctly. He's like, dear sir slash madam. And then he started with like, I came across this job opportunity, and the title of the job was also not written correctly. So he just copied from somewhere and pasted, and he thought that if I'm just sending across a CV along or a resume along, that should serve the purpose. But then it doesn't happen like that. Keep your email introduction brief. Do not tell stories like very detailed stories, because I am sure nobody has so much of time to read paragraphs. So if you're writing an email, just keep it concise and maybe run into 2 or 3 small paragraphs and give white spaces in between. Attach a copy of your resume. Build your network, be visible online, and build your personal brand. So this is about your resume. Now quickly, I wanted to do an exercise with all of you all. 1 second. Okay, so I'll just tell you what is the activity. I'm going to be showing you a resume, right? And I would want to understand from you, what are the 3 things that you like about that resume, and what are the 3 things that you feel could be improved, So identify that. I've just shared my screen. Just let me know if you can see this resume. Is my screen visible? Can you see this resume? Please, somebody can type a yes or a no. Yes, you can, right? Okay, thank you so much. So I'm just giving you probably, maybe 1 minute or so, and just tell me what are the things that you've liked in this resume, and what are the things that you feel that, could be improved. Maybe I'll just scroll up. Yeah. The page is not clearly visible, okay? Looks very simple. Okay. So do you think we should be actually using a fancy template if we want to make it look more attractive? Ruval? Okay. Many words used. All right. Too much information. Points are very concise. Okay, so that's a good point. Looks more compact. Mm-hmm. Font size is small. Okay. March 2022 to present. Uh-huh. So that's his current organized. I mean, the current he's currently working there as a deputy manager. Duration, yeah, is a good point. Tabulating will help. Okay, taking more effort to read resume, right? Very lengthy. I mean, it's just one page. I mean, though it's not that lengthy, but then I agree with you. It looks like a very forced attempt of trying to fix everything into one page. I will share my LinkedIn profile. Line spacing information is too much. Tabulation, it should be more attractive and less bulkier. Started with the same words. Very good. I like what Ranjit pointed out. No links provided. Okay. All right. Just to add a little more to it, I think you all have done a pretty good job. Bad points, no link provided. How can I know my resume? Is it ATS compliant? Okay. No portfolio. Okay. So let's just start with the first thing first. One second. Okay. So now professional experience. Although I'll just address to this question first that this resume looks simple. So I mean the idea is not to distract your recruiter or anybody who's reading your resume with fancy templates or with using a lot of colors, borders and decorations. Somebody also asked me that how do I ensure that my resume is ATS compliant or not. So that's ATS is a software that when you use a lot of graphics, when you use a lot of customization and a lot of formatting, then you do run a risk of having that document lose some of the important content of the resume. That's why we always suggest and we always recommend that you stick to a simple template, right? Do not get onto getting the information highlighted in a way that you have. Okay, so let's just talk about maybe a vertical resume. A lot of resumes are vertical, wherein you have your personal details on the left and then you have your professional details on the right side. That also is not recommended because you're giving equal weightage to your work experience and to your personal details, like what do you like doing in your free time. So that should not be the case. Your flow should be like the what we discussed in the beginning, that you have your work experience or your education on top, followed by your interest or your personal details or additional information should be the last thing to discuss in the resume. That should not be of equivalent, that should not be given equivalent weightage. So one thing is that I do not recommend, as a best practice also, that do not use fancy templates or fancy resumes. Tabulation also is not recommended. Resume is not the place to create charts and tables. I mean, your work experience has to, your format has to be like what this person has used. So we have got no problems with the format, with the way this resume is presented is absolutely fine. But yes, of course there are areas of improvement, like repeating the similar kind of word to start with the bullet point. Lead. I just see it so many times and I get bored. The second point, somebody pointed out that it has got like too many words. It's very wordy. Like, again, if you look at this, it's running into 4 lines. Who has time to by the time I reach the third line, I would probably forget what he was trying to convey in the first place. So to make it easier for comprehension, just stick to every bullet point should be written within 1 or 1.5 line, not beyond that. So everything has to be written within 2 lines, very concisely. I had showed you some samples in the presentation that I was showing, that how do you write your statements. So just stick to 2 lines. Do not write beyond that. The second thing that we feel that can be improved, like before this company he was working independently And he has written statements like design and develop marketing websites, coordinate with stakeholders. So he has written that, okay, so this one he's written as present, so he can't be really working in two organizations simultaneously, even if it is his startup. So I don't know if it is the best place to highlight that also or not. But then your previous work experience should always be written in past tense. Like this should be like designed and developed marketing websites, coordinated with stakeholders, conducted market research. And all these bullet points have to start with a verb. So that's a good thing about this CV. And okay, so it looks cluttered to me. I agree with you all completely. I mean, it looks like a very desperate attempt to try and fit everything into one page. So that should not look like. So he's written a couple of achievements or highlights of his, college days also, which is a good thing to highlight, like all the volunteer activities and all that you've done. So that's a good thing to highlight. So I think you all have done a fairly good job at finding out the areas of improvement and finding out the good things in the CV. There's one more that I'd like to quickly share. 1 second.
Ma'am, you are on mute. I would like to request you to please unmute yourself.
Thank you for identifying that. Okay, so I'm just saying that this person is at a very senior position, and she's working with a company for about 20, for like she has got a work experience of about 20 years. She has used a vertical resume, what we call, so having a picture or her personal details or her education on left and her work experience on the right side. So if I just maybe talk about her role here with Health Zone Organic Foods Private Limited, I mean, do you see that this is written in some other font style? I mean, it's not the same what she's written here. So maybe she has just copied this information from internet and she's just pasted here. So a lot of us do such mistakes. Please refrain from doing such mistakes. She's at such a senior level, but then again, it just happened that that she just did this, wherein there's no meaty content. Also review financial statements and documents for accuracy, which is like a routine work. Oversee payrolls. I don't know what has happened to me. Oversee payroll and other transactions as needed. Provide financial analysis for management, so that everybody at her position, maybe as a finance controller, would be doing. So what values has she added to the table is something that's missing here. Yeah. So that is about the resumes. And I'll also share a template that I have, which will give you an idea of the kind of template that you all should be using. 1 second. Okay, so this is one template that I have that is for reference. I mean, of course, you all can choose to differ, but then that's what I feel, that it's a very crisp and clear way of presenting your professional work experience. So you start with your name on top, then you write your email address, your contact number, or your LinkedIn profile URL. Then you start with the experience. You have the dates here on the left. Then you have the name of the company and the location that you're placed. So one line description of company here would mean that, you know, it's a good idea. See, if you work for an organization like Microsoft, Google, Amazon, or you know, McKinsey for that matter, then everybody knows about these organizations. But if you work for an organization which is not that well known, so in the best interest of, you know, somebody who's in the HR department, or who's actually going to probably, you know, review your resume, be the first person to review your resume, would not know that, you know, what the company does, and, you know, what does this company operate in. So it's a very good idea to have a one line description of your organization. Do not run it beyond one line, because everybody can Google the name of the company and find out that information. It is for, you know, we are just giving that information in addition, so that it saves the other person's time to actually go back and find that information on the internet. So one line description about the name of the organization, about the description what this company does. So what kind of information can it include? It may include information like, you know, when was this company founded, where is this company based or maybe headquartered, what is the total employee strength, and what is the revenue that this company generates. If all that information is available on the public forum, please try and highlight all that here. Okay, then that's followed by your title or the position that you've held and the department that you are a part of. We have discussed this, that, you know, how do you write your bullet points, but again, I would like to repeat, start with an action verb, use a currency consistently. It's very important. If you're talking about numbers in US dollars, then stick to US dollars. Do not just, you know, hop from US dollar to euros to pounds to INR. Okay, that's important. So grew the business. Okay, I just wanted to give an example here. Grew the business, generating a pipeline worth INR 733 million in H1F in financial year 2013 and 14. Again, this is an incomplete statement. I mean, I don't know how did you grow the business. Was that even a part of your KPI, or you were indirectly involved in growing the business? So give a little more details around that. So that is about, you know, how you're going to be writing, and always have 3 or 4 bullet points for each organization that you work for, not more than that. If you've served for about, you know, 2, 3, 4 organizations, so do not just list everything. As I said, just try and quantify accomplishments and the values that you've been able to bring. Your previous organization, again, a one line description, because we want to maintain consistency in the document. Your title, position, department, then all the bullet points. Then you talk about, then we have the education section, which has, like, you know, the name of the university, and then the name of your college, the course that you've done. If your scores are, like, you know, if you want to highlight your CGPA score, you can do that, but it's optional. Nothing beyond your first year of work, you know, first year of college matters. Like, you know, your 10th and 12th. I mean, while we understand that you may have scored 90% or 95% in your 10th or 12th both, but then again, resume is not the best place to highlight your school accomplishments, right? Then you talk about certifications and trainings, your interests and achievements, and languages known. I think we have covered all this, that, you know, how do you want to bring this information in. So this is a simple template that I thought, you know, would be a good idea to suggest to you all. And yeah. Now going back to our presentation. Let's talk about LinkedIn profile. Okay, so somebody was asking me, you know, what's your LinkedIn profile? So here it is. I mean, I've put a QR code, and the URL also I've put here. So if you can probably, you know, just scan your mobile, you should be able to view my LinkedIn profile. And please add me there on your LinkedIn. I would want to be connected with all of you. By the way, how do you add a QR code to your LinkedIn? If you're interested in knowing, then it's a very simple step. You just you know, copy your profile's URL, and there are like QR code generator apps. Then you go to those apps and probably paste your LinkedIn profile URL. It should be able to give you a QR code, and then you can use that QR code and, you know, maybe put it on your resume or start giving it to people. Then again, it saves times of the recruiter. One can actually just, you know, scan it from their mobile phone to see what your LinkedIn profile looks like. Okay, what we cover in LinkedIn profile is, I'll start with the first thing first. What do you see on the LinkedIn? The topmost section is a cover picture, a background picture that LinkedIn has, that, you know, your page would have. LinkedIn has given you an option to have a cover picture, so why not utilize it? I mean, it's a big, wide area that has been given, so let's not waste it. I see a lot of people, not utilizing that area. So have a cover picture on your profile. A cover picture could include anything for that matter. Anything that is of your personal interest, any hobby that you are pursuing, or anything which is any quote that resonates with you, that you kind of strongly believe in. You can actually have all of that information as a cover picture. Then your profile picture comes next. Again, a profile picture is important. 80% of the times, anybody going through your profile, if they see a profile picture, they are interested to know more about you. If they do not, if they just see a gray area in the profile picture, then actually people really are less interested in knowing about the person. So when you have a face to your profile, then it's a very good thing. Okay, so then you have, when you add your profile picture, just beyond, below that you have a headline that what you're currently, that tells anybody going through your LinkedIn profile about you. So like if I am a resume writer, or if I am a career coach, or if I handle the career services division of Northwest, so that should be my headline. Career coaching with a vertical separator, maybe then you use resume writing, personal branding, and all of that. So relevant to your profile, I mean, you should have a headline on your LinkedIn profile. Then comes this about section, which is like a profile summary of you. About section, again, in resumes, we have the limitation that we have to write only as much. We have to write only about our career accomplishments, and we can't run into pages. But then LinkedIn, we do not have a limitation like that. But then having said that, we have to also keep in mind the interest of the reader, that we do not write paragraphs about us. So having a perfect balance, the things that you've not been able to include in your resume, try and include that in your uh, about section in your LinkedIn, which is a profile. So if you carry about 3 years or 4 years of work experience, it's the idea, the format should be like 4+ years of work experience in, followed by your core competence areas or the strengths that you bring to the table, then followed by your softer skills, maybe, because we do not write adjectives in the resumes. We do not write statements like self-driven, result-oriented, or maybe well-spoken, communication skills. All these things do not appear on the resumes anymore. Literally, we have killed the meaning of these words by overusing them so much. Result-driven, proficient, adept, skilled at. So try avoiding these words which are like used a lot, and we have read about these words a lot, so they look like copied from internet and pasted on your LinkedIn profile or on your resume. Do not try to look for templates or sample achievements or sample work profiles on internet, because internet can confuse you like anything. So always seek guidance from somebody who's an expert in that area, right? So write about you, again, as I said, that talk about your softer skills as well. And then comes the work experience section. In the work experience, of course, you do not have to copy and paste your resume. You can actually write like a story. You can actually narrate your story in a way that during my stint with this organization, I managed this, I learned this, I handled this. So you can probably start using first person. You can add pronouns while addressing yourself, and then you can write about, just do not, again, in the best interest of the reader, do not just write everything. Write about your significant highlights. Write about some articles that you've written, the link to the websites or awards or the podcast that you've been a part of. If they are applicable, then probably that's the best place to highlight those as well in your work experience section. Then we have got recommendations. So very important. Again, I would say that, self-boasting, we've done enough in resumes. We have done enough in about section, in our headline. Let's hear it from somebody else, right? That adds more credibility. It's a very good idea to have recommendations from your peers, from your, ex-bosses, from your clients, from your teachers, mentors. So always, seek recommendations from people. It's again boasting, but then hearing it from somebody else, as I said, adds more credibility. There is a section called featured section on resume. Try and utilize that. And how do you utilize? If you are proud of anything that you've done in your career, that could be a certification that you've done recently, that could be an award that you won, that could be, if not anything, could be a LinkedIn post that you wrote, an article that you wrote that was, making sense to a lot of people, that got liked or commented by a lot of people. That also can appear in your featured section. There is something called a creator mode on LinkedIn. So creator mode, I'd like to clarify that it's not for everybody, but if you feel that you would want to utilize your LinkedIn profile as an influencer, somebody who is a subject matter expertise and who wants to write about what you're good at. So if you are good at writing, or if you are good at influencing people, if you want to talk about things that you like, then you can keep the creator mode on, just like influencers on Instagram or on LinkedIn also, for that matter. Otherwise, you can just have people connect with you. So when you switch on the creator mode, it lets the other person follow you, and then there's an option to connect as well. So okay, so best practices. Somebody was asking me how often should I post on LinkedIn and what is it that I should post. See, that's a personal choice. I wouldn't want to say what you should post on LinkedIn or what you shouldn't. But then a fairly decent would be that you like some 3 posts, and you probably try and add 3 more people every day, and you uh, share, or maybe you write 1 article a day. Not everybody is a writer, so LinkedIn gives us that opportunity that even if you're not good at writing, you can actually share. So if you like something that you've read, you can actually go and share on your page by adding 1 or 2 lines, and by personal, giving it a personal touch. So it's something like a repost, and follow groups which are of interest to you. So these are some of the things that I wanted to highlight for your LinkedIn recommendation that I have for you. And I think I've done enough of speaking. I would want to take up questions and understand from you all what is the gap that you have, which I would try to fill. Yeah, Kashish, I'm good with questions now.
Yeah. So now everybody's requested to type in their questions in the chat box. And even if you want to unmute, we can give you that permission as well. I would like to request the co-host to give that permission to the participants.
So am I supposed to do that?
No, no, no. Somebody from our team.
How fresher can make attractive resume? So fresher attractive resume would again not mean that you use fancy templates. Your For a fresher, it would be, instead of having a profile summary, you could have a well written career objective. So when you write your name, your contact information, your LinkedIn profile, have a career objective written, which is about what is it that you're good at, what is it that you can add to the table, and what is it that you want to do in life, your objective now. Otherwise, I do not recommend writing a career objective to people who have got experience. See, because it's a very tricky statement to write on the resume. If the job that you're applying for, that is your ultimate objective, so there's no need of writing that. But then for freshers, of course, you are just exploring things, so you can have a career objective, then which is followed by your education section, and then you would have done some internships. So try and write your internships in a similar manner that I've suggested for the work experience. For which company have you interned, name of that company, the location they were based at, the description about their organization, and then your title there, and then maybe 3 or 4 bullet points about the kind of work that you were involved in. That should take care. Also talk about any volunteer work that you do, talk about your interests. So volunteer work would also mean a lot of community service. With COVID in last 2 years, that has given a lot of opportunity for people to actually go out and help other people. So that could also have a place in the resume, wherein you talk about the community services, the volunteer work that you've done, the underprivileged children, if you have taught anywhere, or socioeconomically disadvantaged people that you have maybe helped in upscaling through your mentoring or through any contribution. So talk about that, and how have you been able to make impact in their lives. So that gives a credibility, that becomes your result. I've got too many questions. Kashish, you'll have to help me.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Sure, sure.
Yeah.
So the next question is that if we have something in skills we have done but do not have the certificate or proof for that, so how should we add that on our profile?
If you do not have a certificate, if you do not have a written proof, then it is not a professional qualification that you have attained. If you know that, if you have if you're good at that skill, if you've not done a certification, let's not mention that in the resume. Within somewhere in the achievements, if you have utilized or you've used that technical tool or that skill, then again you can write, as I had said in the beginning, that while writing your achievement you can do that, but then the technical skills sections would not have that uh, skill set written there because you do not have a professional certification, if that answers.
Okay, so the next question is, generally we have NDA from the employer, so during the transition stage how to mention the project detail apart from the skill sets involved?
The project details, like you mean to say the list of projects that you've been a part of and when you have not left the organization, right? I'm not.
And yes, and she also asked that how to mention it in a resume if someone has worked over multiple roles at the same organization.
So then you have to show the growth path. You have to split designations to show, because career progression is a very good thing to highlight in the resume. That shows how you have grown in the organization. So suppose if you worked for X organization, suppose McKinsey, you worked for 2 years, and first year you were an analyst, second year you got promoted as an associate, then have the complete tenure, the designation, and the time spent at each designation. So that takes care of that information.
The next question is declaration statement necessary?
No, no. There is no need to declare anything on the resume. It is just a plain waste of white space. Don't do that.
Okay. The next question is, can we add unique hobbies?
Yes. Unique hobbies like what? Of course you can.
What should and why should I post on LinkedIn?
What should you post on LinkedIn? Again, as I said, it's a personal choice. I mean, whatever you feel, something which is going to make sense to the kind of audience that you are involved in on LinkedIn. And how often? What was the second part of the question? What should I post on LinkedIn, and
And why should I post on LinkedIn?
why should you post on LinkedIn? Okay, so why should you have an opinion about something? When you are with a group of people, maybe there are 10 people, why do you think it is important to be a part of that conversation, to have an opinion? So that is, LinkedIn is again a platform wherein you can actually put across your point, your opinions, which will help the other person who doesn't know you personally understand the kind of personality that you have.
Okay. Also, guys, we'll quickly take some few more questions because there are a lot of questions in the chat box. So we will be sending, typing a email ID in the chat box, and you all can mail your questions to that ID, and we'll be answering that from there. So
Sure,
I'll
sure.
quickly take 2 to 3 questions more, and
Okay.
then we can wrap it up.
Okay.
So I have worked for 5 years as an assistant professor after my master degree, and now I am pursuing PhD from IIT Roorkee. Should I start my resume from educational details?
So the rule of thumb says whatever you do full time comes on top. So if you're doing your PhD full time and you had worked in interim before that, then your education comes on top. Does that answer?
Next question is personal pic is necessary for resume?
No, it's not recommended. But then I don't know, a lot of people put their pictures on the resume. I don't know for what purpose, because it seriously does not serve any purpose. And in some of the countries, it is actually not. It's banned. I mean, you can't really have a profile picture, and you can't really take decisions basis a profile picture of somebody or a picture on the resume. So that's not the best place to have. Of course, LinkedIn, you should have a profile picture.
Okay, so this question that I am a research scholar and can I write about my published research article?
Absolutely, you must, because you must have a section in the resume called publications, and within that section just write about your publications.
Should QR code be attached in the resume?
Yes, why not? If you have created one, then give that, simplify that for the recruiter or whoever is going through your resume to actually have a look at your LinkedIn, provided you have updated your LinkedIn profile well. It should not
Yes.
backfire that you don't have anything on LinkedIn and you're still putting a QR code or a URL.
Okay, so one last question. How many projects are expected if having some experience before?
How many projects are
Expected.
expected? In what
Yes.
sense? Like, how many projects should you have on your CV or on your resume?
The question is how many projects are expected if having some experience before?
Again, who has asked this question? Maybe I would want to, that person can unmute himself or herself and ask me this.
Vijay, do you want to unmute yourself? Like you have the permission. Would you like to ask your question? Yes, ma'am. Okay, Vijay. Yes, Vipul, go ahead.
Am I audible now?
Yes, you are, Vipul.
Actually, I'm at the final year, ma'am, and I'm doing one project, ma'am. So our project is valuable at the resume or what, ma'am? I mean, it's not an ordinary project. It's more like a bigger project, ma'am. So can we add to the resume to add up more weightage, ma'am?
Okay, so if I've understood your question correctly, you are doing your MSc, right?
BTech, ma'am.
You're doing your BTech, okay?
Yes,
And
ma'am.
you want to ask me that whether you should include the projects that you are a part of right now or not.
Right, ma'am.
Okay, so you should actually, and do you have any work experience also? You're just pursuing your BTech full time?
Just pursuing my BTech.
You should include your projects, because that is how you will show your achievements, right?
Okay, ma'am. Ma'am, and should we compulsorily we have some internship before we are going to do any work or we are going to apply, ma'am? Should
So
we have some internship type?
if you have done internships, then of course that's resume is the place to park that information. You should talk about your internships, and when you talk about internships, if you have you have work experience, then I would suggest that maybe internship is not that important and your full-time job is more important. But then if you do not have an experience, then internships matter.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah, thank you.
Guys, you all are requested to write your questions to the mail ID given in the chat box. We won't be able to take more questions today. And I guess we can wrap it up.
I hope
So,
I was able to, clarify a few things and some takeaways from this session to all of you all here. I hope that.
thank you so much, ma'am. The session was amazing and the response is also very good.
Thank you.
Like the students are really active and I really appreciate. So now at the end of the session, I would like to tell you about an opportunity. So this is about My Gurukul. So My Gurukul is an extended domain of My Ways. So in this, we help students to get placed in their preferred role in different companies, and the students can also get trained there. So for this, we have our hiring partners like Paytm, Fleetex, and many others. We also have tied up with tech startups and big MNCs. So this program is free for all of you. You all can give the hiring test, and for this we have a very simple procedure. It's a three-step procedure. First is the hiring test. Second is an internal interview with our team. Third is the external interview with the company. And after clearing these rounds, you can get placed at your dream company. So for this, I have a very great news for all of you that right now we have active hiring openings for different profiles. So our team will be circulating a Google form in the chat box and you all can fill in your request and our team will get back to you via test links and you can appear for the test, and if you qualify it, then you will be having your interview and you can directly get placed in your preferred company and preferred role. So this was an announcement that I wanted to make. So I would like to request my team to put yes. And you can also check our community groups and our social links. And for the recording of the session, you can go and check out the YouTube channel of MyWays. It will be uploaded in 3 to 4 days, and you can get the recording from there. And the speaker's profile will be also there. Like, please put in the chat box, and you all can connect with Miss Ritu Singh. Thank you so much, ma'am, for coming today and for joining us. The session was amazing.
Pleasure.
And we received a lot of registrations for this session, and everybody gave a very positive response for the
I'm
same.
sure this is need of the hour, and everybody out here, there, boys and girls, please update your LinkedIn and your resumes. That's my piece of advice.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, do you want to add anything, ma'am? Do you want to give any feedback?
No, it was a wonderful session. I mean, I really had a good time. I'm sure I would want to understand from you all that, if there were any takeaways, the objective was met or not is something that, I would want to understand from each one of you. And let's just connect on LinkedIn and, let's be a little more active there. That's what I can say.
So the resume formats and the resources will be shared to all of you. Do not worry with the recording. And yes, so I guess we can wrap up the session. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining in. We'll meet the next weekend, and we will be very happy to host you again. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. All the best, everyone. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.